For those of you who were up late last night, thank you very much for getting here promptly and being part of our audience this morning. Many of you were expecting to see Liz Murrell from the Institute of Corporate Governance Network here this morning. Unfortunately, Liz was taken ill and couldn't be here, so I've been asked to step in at the last minute, and it's my pleasure to do so. We have a topic today that's going to talk about audit committees and the future of audit committees, and we have a very distinguished panel that are going to share their different expertise from different perspectives and different jurisdictions around the world. Let me start by introducing the panel to you, starting on my immediate left, where we have Lee White. Lee White is a chartered accountant from Australia and New Zealand. He's also the Chief Executive Officer of the Chartered Accountants of Australia and New Zealand following the recent successful merger.
Thank
My
you.
compliments to you on that.
Thank you.
His current priorities include contributing to public policy, building Australia's emerging role in Asia's business landscape, and developing future generations of chartered accountants. He's an experienced audit practitioner in both the public and private sector, and was formerly the chief accountant for the Australian Securities Investments Commission, which is the Australian representative on the International Organization of Securities Commissions. Next to Lee is Anne Molyneux. Anne is also a member of the Chartered Accountants of Australia and New Zealand, but spends most of her time outside of that country, where she leads a global consulting firm, where her practice consists of consulting on corporate governance development, and she has clients that include the World Bank, the Asia Development Bank, and many individual companies and governments. Her interests are especially in national frameworks for corporate governance, capacity building, regulatory reforms in governance, banks and insurance governance, board structures and evaluations, and board committees. She's a representative of the International Corporate Governance Network, and represents business views on corporate governance at the OECD. Next to Anne is Anton van Wyk. Anton has more than 30 years' experience in corporate governance and risk management, primarily based in his home country of South Africa, where he's a partner with PricewaterhouseCoopers. But he's here today because he's also, in his spare time, dare I say that, Anton, chairman of the Institute of Internal Auditors Global Board. And he's going to bring to us perspectives of the work that internal auditors do with audit committees, but I'm sure that will also branch out into his experiences in the South African environment and his work with the King Committee on Governance in South Africa. And last but by no means least, sitting on my far left is my good friend, Dr. Michele Cazzo. Michele has an audit practice in Milan, here in Italy. He's a dottore commercialista. He is also a certified fraud examiner and has a lot of experience dealing with the audit committees, as they are called, syndicali, as they're called here in Italy. So welcome one and all. I'm going to ask them to start off with a few comments, but just to get a sense of the general direction of the session, after some opening comments from each of them, I have some questions that I want to pose to them. If you have questions that you would like to ask them, you can use the app, you can use the iPad, or if we have time, there are some microphones in the bottom of the two podiums at this lower level. And if we have time, we can take questions from you at those microphones as well. So please feel free to send your questions forward, because answering your questions is much better than anything else we can achieve during the course of the next hour and a half.